All right. How's it going, everybody? My name is Darrell, also known as Coach D, and I'm here to bring you a new episode here on the World of Coaching podcast. Today's episode is going to be the coach inside and how self-coaching can help you with your everyday wins. Now, one of the things I want to show you on this episode is I really want to show you that you can have this inner coach that can help you train and you can use it daily, even without hiring someone like myself or hiring a coach. You have to find that inner coach, right? So oftentimes we have this inner voice, right? That's telling us don't do X, Y, and Z, or yes, you should do that, or feel it in your gut. But the reality is that there's also a inner coach inside of you that can coach you to do the things in which you need to do, whether it's asking the right questions or whether it is just pushing yourself to that next level. You have to be that inner coach, that inner mentor that allows you to get to that next level. So today, I want to position this episode around the aspect of the young adult who's really getting into life, but is either still in high school or still in college, and they're still figuring some things out. So let me give you an example. So you're either at your desk, you're staring halfway through a project, you know it needs to be done, but you can't start. You kind of hit that wall, right? You hit that, for some reason, I can't think through what are the next steps. For some reason, I can't think through what I should do next. And what ends up happening is you sit there waiting for something to happen. Now, if you can imagine in that moment, you had a coach and you had that coach appear beside you, kind of like that angel and that devil. But this is a coach that appears beside you and says, all right, what's the next step you can take? And not just the next step, but what is the smallest step that you can take? Because oftentimes we look at these projects from a large lens as opposed to lasering in and focusing on the project at hand, or at least the small steps it takes to complete that project. That, to me, when you can figure out what the smallest step is, or at least having that coach beside you, figuring out each step to keep you moving, right? To keep that movement. That is the power of self-coaching. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So today I'm going to teach you how to tap into that coach inside of you and how you can win your day. And not just today, not just tomorrow, but every single day you lean on that coach, that inner coach within inside you, to push you to your max and push you to your limits. So here's why self-coaching matters, and why I believe self-coaching matters is really coaching yourself outside of having coaches or affording coaches is really all you have. And using questions and reframing and accountability on your own really helps you define how you can coach yourself up to be a better individual and be a better steward of the talents in which you have, the skills in which you have, the ability to really, again, push yourself to the next level. Now, the reality check is not everyone can hire a coach 24/7. Not everyone can hire a coach in general. Not everyone has the finances to be able to do so. So when we face these moments, we still need that guidance, right? We still need someone to nudge us, to push us into the next stage that we need to be in, or the next level that we need to be in. And sometimes it requires meticulous focus, right? It requires us to sit down. What do I want to achieve? How long will it take for me to achieve it? And what will it look like when it comes to success? But when you're looking to achieve something, you have to be mindful of the destination, right? So it's kind of like GPS. You get it on Google Maps, you type in the address and hey, all right, turn left here, turn right here, and then you're at your destination. But sometimes you can't help yourself navigate the turns if your GPS isn't working. Sometimes you need someone to assist you there, right? For instance, I'll give you an example. Let's say, for instance, your phone died, but your friend's in the car and your phone had the directions. You can't just say, oh, we're not going to make it there. I don't know where to go. We're lost, right? But if your friend has a phone and your friend has a device that does have battery and also has internet, then they can search the destination and we both can get there at the same time. That friend can help you get there at the same time. This is very similar to a coach. But when you help yourself navigate to that next level, or when you have someone that helps you navigate to that next level, what ends up happening is you get to your destination without any obstacles, without any challenges, because you have someone there continuing to focus on the destination and the goal. And that goal sometimes can be, hey, I want to graduate high school. I want to get into college. I want to start my own business. I want to, go to this community college before I go to the big university, right? So I can get some of these credits out the way. There are a lot of things that you can do to push yourself to that next level. And sometimes it takes that inner coach. So I'll give you an example or a personal story about a time I remember. It was my senior year in high school. And I really knew that I wanted to do something after high school, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. But one of the things that I found myself doing is looking at others that I was coming into contact with. So in the working world, whether it was employees, my coworkers, or whether it was someone in a different department, or whether it was an executive, I wanted to look at those experiences and say, can I see myself in that seat? Can I see myself with this life, right? And I saw some of those that I was really close with, they still struggled. They still had a challenging life because they didn't make the best decisions. And I saw some of those executives and the offices that they had and the suits that they wore. And I knew this is something that I really wanted to do, but I didn't know how to get there. And so that's where my mentor came into place to teach me what it took to get there, but also how important it was for us to stay in contact, because it was important for me to understand that he was my GPS. He was the person helping me understand, take this step, go this direction, meet this person. And if I hadn't had that, I wouldn't be as successful as I am today with building the relationships that I've built, as well as into the roles that I've been in, because it instilled a level of confidence in me early on. And so just imagine right now, if you're in high school or if you're in college and you're still figuring things out, you have time. But do not stray away from finding somebody who's already navigated the course that can be GPS for you to get to your destination, to get to the location, or ultimately the goal in which you're trying to achieve. Now, one of my other mentors talks about the goal is not the goal. The goal is the journey. The journey is the goal, right? And so you never actually get to the goal, but you continue on that journey of striving for what it is that you're looking to get to. But ultimately, if you get to the goal, you set different goals, right? And so you get on a different journey. Now, as we continue, I want to talk to you a little bit about one of the frameworks that I've developed, and I call it the 3-step self-coaching framework. And it's really about asking yourself the right question, ensuring that you have a powerful answer, and ensuring that you wrap that all into what I call micro commitments in a feedback loop, whether it's with yourself as the inner coach or with a coach or a mentor in which you have brought into your life as someone that can assist you and navigate with you. So step 1 of the 3-step self-coaching framework is really to pause and observe. Stop the autopilot, right? Stop moving and doing things the same way in which you've done it. Ask yourself, what actually is happening right now? What am I feeling? And what am I avoiding? It's so interesting because what's happening right now, and I ask myself these questions, right? And coaching myself to get back to the mic here and get back to the podcast. You know, I had a friend who had a health scare, and it really shook me up. And it really shook me up to the point to where I needed to take a break and focus on my friend, focus on if his family was okay, and focus on, am I doing the right things to avoid this from happening, or at least prolong this from happening, because we are so close in age. And so if I ask myself that question, and what am I feeling? I was feeling sad. I was feeling scared. I was feeling out of control. Like I had no control. And that's the reality. But one of the things I was avoiding getting on this mic because I was scared. And I was scared to talk about this, and scared to not have the right words, and scared to put myself out there that I am scared, and that I do have fears in this world and in this life, because, you know, it's inevitable. You know, we know we live and we die. And when I'm avoiding this because I'm scared of some of the outcomes. But most importantly, I have to stop the autopilot, because what I am looking forward to more than being fearful of is how I can help young men and women achieve and strive for that next level and for their goals without having to without allowing that fear to keep them from moving forward. So something for you may not be something for you may be, I'm not sending that email because I'm afraid of the response. I'm not sending that text to my ex because of that response. I'm not sending this. I'm not calling my coach, or I'm not calling my teacher or my counselors. I'm not reaching out to them because I'm afraid of that response. I'm afraid of what they will say. But what you'll find is that we often have self-defeating thoughts before we even take action, and oftentimes we have these theories that we're doing, that this is going to happen, and it never does, because we're so afraid of changing, right? The uncomfortable. We're afraid of moving forward and moving ourselves forward with that motion, because it's important that we understand that on the other side of moving forward with this motion is transformation, is self-awareness. It's being available to see the difference, right? As you look in the mirror, as you see the actions, as you see the overall believability of what you've been able to achieve and become, you'll see that it's not as scary as we sometimes make it seem. All right. So step one, again, stop the autopilot. Let's stop and observe and understand where are we at currently. Okay. Now, step two is asking powerful self-questions. Again, we talked earlier in the example, what's the smallest next action I can take? And the smallest next action could be, let me send this message. Let me pick up the phone and call. Let me go ahead and write this down in my notes. Let me go ahead and put together a document and let me print it out, right? Let me go up to the library and get this book. Let me start reading 10 pages, right? What's the smallest next action that I can take? Or what would I say to a friend in my shoes, right? Oftentimes we look out for friends and we look out for family much more than we sometimes look out for ourselves. Oh, you can call me anytime. You can text me anytime. Hey, man, don't worry about it. Totally understand. We really give our friends and our family much more leeway than we give ourselves, right? But if our friends were in our shoes and they experience the things in which we experience, what would they do? Or what would I say in that instance, right? I love my family. I love my friends to the point to where I'm willing to tell them what is important in the moment so they can get to moving and get to that next level. The other question you can ask is, if I already believe I could do this, what would I do next? Right? So my mentor often says, it's not can I, it's how can I, right? You have to rephrase and reposition things so that you can understand that you have the power, you have the ability, you have the talent, you have the skill. Just get out and go and do it. But you have to ask yourself these questions, because these questions tend to form answers. And these answers, guess what? They're already inside of you. You have this brain of yours, and if you ask a question and you get a response, right? Take that answer at face value, take that answer and run with it, right? But also understand that if you're not coming up with an answer, again, rephrase the question. Sometimes simplify the question. A lot of people ask, if X was in place and Y was in place and Z was in place, could I get to A, B, and C, right? Like there's so many different variables, but how can we simplify that and bring it to, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little passionate. How can we simplify that and further build on that, like the building blocks we know we can, all right? So when you get these questions, when you get these answers, write them down. Write them down, okay? I know in this day and age, we don't like to write things down. We like to put it in our phones, but I'll tell you, there is a reason why we write these things down so we can revisit it. There's also a reason why I write things down, just to give you, a little tip here. When it's in my phone, there's so many different distractions. When I write it down, let me give you an example. When I write it down, I have the ability to go back, flip through it, read through it, add some additional notes, and continue to build upon the answers that I'm given based off of the questions in which I'm asking. And if I can do that in an organized fashion, over time, you start to develop an ideology. You start to develop a philosophy for your life and how you can continue to build on that philosophy to therefore help guide your steps, okay? Now, the step 3 is micro commitments and what I call a feedback loop, especially if you have a coach. But you can also do that feedback loop with yourself. So pick one small action you can do within 10 minutes, okay? So one action for me is, okay, let me write that down. Let me spend 10 minutes writing down what's in my head. What am I thinking? How can I better align this to my goals and to the dreams in which I have that I want to achieve, whether it's for myself or whether it's for my family or for my friends or for my colleagues or for anyone, right? So pick one small action that you can take within 10 minutes, okay? Celebrate the win, even if it's tiny. So if you completed that 10 minutes and you did the action in which you said you wanted to do, celebrate it. Clap, pat yourself on the back. Right? Send somebody a message. Hey, I'm really excited, man. I just completed this 10-minute exercise. I wanted to share it with you because I know it's something that I know can help you, but it's also something that I know I want to share more with you because you're a person that I believe supports my dreams, supports my goals, but ultimately wants to see me win and see me win every day. And at the end of every day, what did I learn today that my coach, whether it's my coach self or my inner self, can use tomorrow? Right? So, hey, coach, we wrote something yesterday. Let's go through that. Let's analyze it. Let's go through it. Let's go through it step by step. What stood out? What were some of the common trends or themes? What are some things that we can continue to exercise every single day? And then we start to see what those everyday wins are. So remember, the 3-step self-coaching, okay? The 3-step self-coaching framework is 1, to pause, observe, stop that autopilot. Ask yourself these questions. What's actually happening right now? What am I feeling? What am I avoiding? Okay. Step 2 is asking powerful questions. What's the smallest next step of action I can take? What would I say to my friend in my shoes? And if I already believe I could do this, what would I do next? Okay. And make sure we're writing those answers down. And then we want to make micro commitments. We want to pick one small action that we can take within 10 minutes of answering these questions. And as we complete it, let's celebrate the win. Let's clap. Let's pat ourselves on the back. Let's text a friend, call a family member. Let's share that excitement. And at the end of the day, what did you learn today that your inner coach can use tomorrow to help you benefit for the long term? All right, that's the 3-step framework. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I'm going to go ahead and close it out. And I encourage you to keep a self-coaching journal. Again, here is my journal, right? It's all beat up because I take it with me. I write notes. Sometimes I even take small sheets of paper and I write notes on those sheets of paper. So one of the simple steps that I wrote to simplify my life is get rid of the obstacles that I can barely read my writing, but get rid of the obstacles that might keep customers from doing business with you. Okay. So these are things that I walk around with, I start my day with, I end my day with to ensure that I'm doing what's best for the goals at hand and doing what's best for myself, but also ensuring that I have that inner coach outside of my coach and my mentor to continue to push me. Now, if you're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube, I would love to hear about your self-coaching wins. So feel free to tag me there. And I want to celebrate them with you. I want to find a way to celebrate the inner coach in you that's continuing to push yourself day in and day out for the small wins, the large wins, and all wins, because every day you can win and every day is an opportunity to win. My name is Darrell, also known as Coach D. Thank you so much for joining us on the World of Coaching podcast today. I'll see you guys in the next episode.